again, everybody, and welcome to Week 13 of the high school football season here at the El Tunamir on YouTube, TV, and on public access. And we hope that's not going to be an unlucky number for our remaining teams because we don't have many left. And there's no free stuff this weekend. Not harping on it, just pointing it out. we certainly would love to have more helmets for next year. You know who you are if you haven't seen your helmet, because these two guys always decorate and make sure these helmets are put on display. So be nice to get a.
And look, the four of the teams that we still have playing, we have their helmets.
I would love to have.
Is that a coincidence? I don't know.
I would love to have a maroon and white helmet on here. So there a helmet that has blue and gold colors.
I also need more space for all this stuff. Look at all these jerseys.
And how do I not have a tie around it? Okay, but I digress. Anyways, didn't even introduce ourselves. Mike Boydon, Andy Stein, Scott Franco, Dan Osberg behind the camera. We're going right to our 5 games. 4 Fridays, 1 Saturday. Richland versus Cambria Heights, the District 6 Class 2A Championship. Everybody knows how good Cambria Heights is that watches us and knows about them. Tell us about Richland.
Well, Richland's only lost 2 games this year, and both of the games they lost to were undefeated teams. They lost to Penn Cambria, and they lost to Clearfield. So this is a really good Richland team now. While Cambria Heights would rather run the ball and then throw it to, complement that, Richland would rather pass the ball and then run to complement that. They've used 2 different quarterbacks, but Yarnick, their receiver, Austin Yarnick, he is their top receiver. He's been really good this year. He's been good for a couple years. They've had young quarterbacks, but their receivers have really carried them over the last couple of years. But this is a team that has not won a district championship the last 2 years, and they had grown pretty accustomed to winning them before BG knocked them off in 2022. And then last year they lost to Bald Eagle area when a bunch of injuries mounted for them. So, Richland is back in the district championship, and they want to reclaim their status as, the top team in 2A.
And how about as far as, I always ask you about the player. If you were coaching, Richland is not used to being the underdog. You can just go and look at the 2C, even though they play in a tougher conference than Cambria Heights does. Yeah. Certainly a bigger conference. How do you think the Richland coaching staff's coaching this week?
I think they have kind of coached it like, they've been pretty equal, I think. And, and for Cambria Heights' perspective, they've played all teams from the lower islands as playoffs, and it's progressively got a little bit tougher. Started out with Cord Carroll. Bellwood gave them a good game last week, and this one's probably better than both of those guys. So this one could be fun.
And I still think that Cambria Heights winning that first playoff game where they were down, was it 17-3? Oh my gosh, I thought that was it. They were down. And I thought that was huge that they experienced that. I mean, you were at the Bellwood game last week, and that was a struggle. But again,
what they need to do is they definitely. I talked to Coach Lewis, and he said they're going to work on ball control in the practice this week, because you can't. They fumbled 5 times and lost 3 of them against Bellwood, and it wasn't like balls were just slipping out of their hands stuff. Bellwood was actively, like TJ Watt does for the Steelton, punching the ball out and everything. But Richland's going to see that on film, and they're going to try to do the same thing. So they got to be ready for that, and you can't afford turnovers, especially when you're going to have a close game and 2 really good teams.
Honestly, they're fortunate to win and still have 3 fumbles lost. I mean, that's time that you're a pretty good team, but you don't want to make that a habit by any means.
Cool. Our second game we're looking at is Class 5A, first round of states. It's going to be at Milton High School, which is about an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours up on I-80 going east. Abington Heights, which is coming from like the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Hazleton area, taking on the Hollidaysburg Golden Tigers, which, do we know if they're 12-0 or are they 11-1? Do we know that yet?
Yeah, it's not quite official. Their max rep still says 11-1.
Keep reading the El Tunamir, and Mike will know that. I heard some things about Abington Heights. I'm curious, what did you hear?
Well, one thing I noticed is that up at, last year they were above 500 and this year, obviously, but they have not been a program that's had like a ton of success over the past few years. They've just turned it on the last 2 years. and they just actually avenged a previous loss
You're
to
a jealous
Delaware
season.
Valley. They lost to Delaware Valley in the regular season, then just avenged it last week in the playoffs. But when I talked to Coach Delatre this week, he said that during that game, Abington Heights quarterback, who's kind of been the star of their team this year, he was injured, and the leading receiver came in to finish the game at quarterback. Now, it's unclear of whether, he's going to be able to play this week or not, but that could switch things up big time. Not only do you not have your quarterback, but your leading receiver has to come in to play quarterback. So then you don't have your leading receiver, and they don't really have any guys that have run for, like, there's no 1,000-yard rusher or anything like that. It's, so, the other thing is from Hollidaysburg's perspective, they want to try to run the ball better, which they've been doing. Mitchell Baroner is closing in on 1,000 yards. I think he needs 110 more yards to get to that number. And he's been slowly, surely getting there. Had 110 yards last week. And like I said, as it gets colder, they Hollidaysburg can throw the ball, but they want to be able to run as well. So he said that's a key for this week.
And how I look at this game, and maybe you do, maybe don't, this is the point where Hollidaysburg was always getting ready to play here East Cathedral Prep.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what Homer said, what the kids said. Everybody knew how that was going to turn out. I think the closest I can remember that game being was something like 33-6. This team looks like, and they're like they're 8-4 if I'm correct, if I read right and everything. Just the fact is that these kids mentally think, hey, we could win this game. Like you told me the one time where you would play Bellwood, no value, and you would sit there, I wonder how we're going to lose.
We kind of knew it. Yeah, we kind of knew it. Then
the Hollidaysburg kids, I can't imagine they're thinking that.
Yeah, and I think that's what's great about the state playoffs is you never really truly know, how good your opponent is when you don't see, you definitely don't see them during the season. You probably don't see anybody they play over the season, and I think that's what kind of adds to the mystique on it. But it's like, yeah, they were used to losing this game. I don't think they need to be used to. I don't think they need to have that mindset at all this week.
One other advantage I think Hollidaysburg has is because they have an independent schedule. They're used to traveling an hour and 45 minutes. They've done this. They just did that.
You've been used to travel. Pittsburgh, Mike's their concierge, I think, whenever they get off the bus.
And I'll be going there again this week. But the Hollidaysburg has done this. They've been there. They're not going to be out of routine by going an hour and 45 minutes to play a football game.
And our next game with two teams that aren't going to have to drive very far. Class 3A, first round. This is not a district game. Penn Cambria is playing Somerset at Forest Hills. And I got to think Coach Felix's big thing is to don't let his kids look past Somerset, because Somerset, do they even have a 500 record?
Yeah, they just won their regional game against Brockway.
They were District 5 and Brockway was District 9.
Decided to enter the playoffs, and they but I will say, I think throughout the year, if you guys remember, I know you guys like following the scores in here on Friday nights, and Somerset has had the lead on some teams where you were like, oh my goodness.
Was it Central one?
Yep, and they were leading Bedford, who is still playing. So Somerset is a threat, and they've done a good job at turning the season around this year for them. And they did go to Brockway and win that.
And they won a double digits, didn't they?
Well, Brockway got into it. They were leading by so I think they ended up winning by a little bit less than that. But the other thing is Penn Cambria, the whole season has been saying, we want to win the district title. We've never won a district title. You just accomplished your goal. Now, Coach Felix says he believes that this team will be able to refocus, reset. But that's got to be something else, too, because you've been playing your whole year to win that first district championship. You achieved it. And now you have a game against a team that's in your conference that you're like, we're better than this team. And, that team is thinking, if we beat Penn Cambria, this is like our Super Bowl. So you got to have the right mentality going into this game because Somerset's going to be ready to play.
What do you think the practices are like at this point? In case we don't have it next week, I can ask you that question.
Yeah, I think teams like Penn Cambria, teams like BG, it's I don't think you do anything different than you've done all the year, really. And I think that's why they've been successful.
No, even though any, I would think you wouldn't even have to have walkthroughs, video watching, stuff like
I was
that.
gonna say, I think at this point of the year, you should probably be scaling it back a little bit on how physical you're being too. But Mike's right in the fact that you can't take this team lightly just because you know this team and who they are. Because it was just last week you're down what was it at halftime?
Well, it was 14-8.
Yeah. So I mean, this is no team to take lightly by any means.
And they did not play this year, correct?
They did not
play. Our next game, Class 2A first round, Bedford is going to be at Claysburg-Kimmel High School to take on Steelton High, which is a District 3.
Yeah.
What do we know about it? Is this like the Steel High teams of the past? Or?
They're a pretty good team. I will say this. Steelton High has 2 losses this year, and one of them was to Juniata, who I know Andy's a little bit more familiar with in the Lewistown paper. And Juniata just won. Did they not just win the district championship? Yeah. So, that gives you a little bit of an idea on Steelton. I think they lost like 29-13 or so to Juniata. Now, Juniata's a bigger school. Steelton is up from 1A. We know that they had played against BG all those times. Now they're up to 2A. But this is actually the second year in a row that Steelton High has played at Claysburg-Kimmel. They played Northern Bedford last year, and that was the closest game they had. It was 21-7. Northern Bedford was right there, and then Steelton went on to win the state championship in 1A. So they did lose a few players from that team, but this is still a very, very tough game for Bedford. But, I mean, Bedford to go and shut out Berlin last week and win a District 5 championship was very impressive. And Quincy Swaim, I know we talked a lot when Mercury Swaim played for them.
And their dad was a real good ball player in the 80s at Bedford.
And Quincy Swaim, when you look at his numbers, he's got, I think, 1,600 yards rushing this year and over 700 yards passing. He has just put this team on his back and is carrying them and saying, hey, we are not going to lose. And the team, when I talked to Coach Steele, was not happy about how last year went. And they put in the work, and now they're playing here in the state playoffs and getting Bedford football back to where it has been over the last decade.
He's a good defensive player, too. He plays both ways for them. And then our last game we're going to look at is Saturday night again, District 6 Championship 1A. This is at Mansion Park, correct? Northern Cambria, the number 2 seed, at BG, the number 1 seed. Northern Cambria has 1 loss.
Yep.
BG has 1 loss. Northern Cambria, this is David and Goliath, but I got to think they're a healthier Goliath than some of these other opponents for BG have been. What do you see with this one?
Well, Northern Cambria has a really good quarterback, and Ty Dum, and they are going to come into this game with nothing to lose. I mean, you go into this game and everybody thinks the BG is going to win this game, and Northern Cambria has won a district championship in 2022. Last year, they were upset in the semifinals by Cambria Heights, who went on to win the district championship. So this is a team that has won a district championship and was the top seed going into the playoffs last year, and now this year they're right there again. It's just a question of how good is BG going to play. They've been focused. They've been taking care of business, and we'll see what happens. But the Northern Cambria has good players. And as we see, Cambria Heights just beat McCourt Carroll, and Cambria Heights just beat Bellwood. So, Cambria Heights and Northern Cambria have now Heights did beat Northern Cambria this year, but they've had similar trajectories. So Northern Cambria possibly could beat McCourt Carroll, possibly could beat Bellwood if they played against them. And those are teams that played against BG, and BG, at times they had struggles against them. So this is not it's not like games where there's no competition. I'm just saying BG has to show up for this game, and they have to play well.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at it this way. Northern Cambria needs to get turnovers.
Yeah.
BG, I can't imagine they've had those kids playing 4 quarters in these first 2 games. So those kids have probably just played 2 quarters and maybe a little of the third,
I'm sure.
unless I'm wrong, which I cannot believe they would be in the end of a game 49-0. The other one was 49-7. I got to think, unless do you see any other way, Northern Cambria, other than the David and Goliath thing we were doing?
Yeah, I think when you're playing a team that's as talented as BG, like you said, you got to get turnovers. And you got to strike when your opportunities present themselves, basically. Sometimes you're gonna have to grind out first downs and everything like that, but I think that's the easy way to do it.
Are they running offense like Northern Cambria? Because if they would have like a 14-play drive, they keep that BG offense off the field.
The biggest thing is you cannot turn the ball over yourself too, because that's what
Claysburg.
So Claysburg, tried the trick play, and throws an interception on their first offensive play, and then it's 14-0.
Yeah, BG's 2 touchdowns are a minute apart.
You can't have that happen. You can't dig yourself a huge hole, because if you dig yourself a big hole, you have to think now we can't just play equal with this team. We have to play that much better than them, and that is going to be too tall of a task.
Yeah.
The first fun thing we're going to talk about first is Andy's line of the week. Usually Andy will give me a hint of who he's talking about, but I don't know. Who do you have?
It's a hat! Short steps. Short steps are better than long steps.
I have Bedford this week.
We talked about
I'm running out of newer teams to give. So, but Bedford, I have not talked about them at all yet this year. But like we said earlier in the show, 18-0 win in the second week of playoffs last week. 18-0 over Berlin. They only gave up 94 yards of total offense. I'm going with their D line this week. Another interesting thing about them, it looks like they only have 3 down linemen on defense, which is kind of odd in high school football these days. They're the nose is Nico Cordova. The defensive ends are Christian Stallman, Owen Horn. It's odd in high school football. At least I'm sure they have
your 2 rush ends.
I'm pretty sure I'm sure they got their 2 linebackers for a stand up and playing near the line or something like that. But
and I think Nico Cordova made my name list last year. That's
good.
That name. It is a cool name.
Good luck to those guys this week.
Mike's stat of the week is next. What do you have for us, Mr. Boynton?
By the way, Bedford only allowed 3 first downs in that game.
That's impressive.
That's right. Did you know?
That is impressive, man.
All right, so my stat of the week this week may not make some people happy. Other people, I might make them happy, but I need to just make this clear so everyone understands. So the stat of the week for this week is 82. 82, according to the PIAA website, is the male enrollment that BG gets to select from. So that actually, among the 12 teams in District 6 that are Class 1A, that is the 3rd lowest, behind only Glendale, which is 77, and Conemaugh Valley, which is 81. So only 1 person less. So now what I'm explaining this for is that Bishop Guilfoyle, according to male enrollment in the school, has 82 people. And that's what the PIAA decides these classifications over. That's the PIAA rule. So the PIAA rule isn't where can you draw players from? Where could you get people? Where are potential people that could go to your school? Right now, BG has 82 males in their school that could play football
for 4 years, 9 through 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they are, by definition, by the PIAA, a 1A school. They were considered, they proved that they had no transfers. They actually lost some players due to transfer this year. They had no players that transferred in. That's why they were able to move back down. So I'm just trying to explain this. So there's a lot of people that get upset about BG playing. And I'm just explaining that by the PIAA rules, they are playing where they should be. Now, should the PIAA rules be different? That's certainly up for debate. But by the PIAA rules, as they are currently written, BG has one of the smallest school enrollments to pick from of any of the one.
Who is the smallest on your list? Because I don't have my glasses.
Oh yeah, Glendale has
Is this
77.
Who's the biggest?
The biggest 1A school is Purchase Line with 108.
Wow. Where is Northern? No, Northern's District 5. What's Claysburg?
Blaisburg has 107, so they're only one behind there as being the biggest to choose from. Oh, no, wait, I missed it. Here it is. Actually, the biggest is Moshannon Valley with 112.
Oh, really?
Beating up on the little guys. Maybe Mo Valley's the team everybody should be
We make more
questioning.
people up there in Mount Valley?
Couple more kids will be in double A.
Whoa.
Unless you're getting kids from like Curlinsville.
You know what they say about elites coming from Mill Valley?
That's right. That's right. Especially if you're from Moran, you're really elite then.
Well, let's go to the fun portion now.
All right, let's do it.
I wanna know what's the name of the game.
In fact, Mike Boydman, as you know this, before the season started, he handed me a roster of Sharon High School football, and I was saving it because they were an all-star team as far as cool name goes. I was throwing them at head.
You're good.
We could see Sharon on the show next week.
Yeah, well, it made me think too because Sharon's playing Hickory this week. Wait, if they win, Sharon wins.
The winner of Sharon Hickory would play the winner of Penn Cambria or Somerset.
You were right, so they're AAA.
They're AAA. I thought they were
And
AAA.
they only have 21 kids on their varsity roster.
And they were only like 5 miles apart, Sharon.
Yeah.
They were very
But anyways, they had a bunch of names I could get. And this kid's he's a twin. He is a defensive end guard. His name is Stone Root. R-O-O-T. Stone. He has a twin brother named Bishop. Bishop Root. I do. I love those names. Absolutely love those names. Don't you dare. All right. And then State College is still playing. We have them on our guest pick this week for the high school picks. They have a kid. I always like to look. Mike and I used to talk about the Young and the Restless. How about some of the cool names on the Young and the Restless?
Jack Abbott.
Or Victor Newman.
Victor Newman.
And well, this kid.
Let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something, Mike Boydum. This kid's name from State College. Thank you for putting up with us if you don't watch soap operas. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. His name is Reagan Dillon. Reagan. Even if it would have been Dylan Reagan, that's a soap opera name.
Yeah,
he's probably really handsome, and he's probably in business, and he's cheating behind the scenes to make sure that they have all the money.
I'm pretty sure he hasn't died like 4 times and come back.
Yeah, he has, and he's not Victor Newman. Or what was the one? Ridge Forrester.
Oh, that's
it. Was on the Beautiful. The Beautiful.
Yeah,
I know we watched way too many.
We work at night,
so we're up in the
activities during the day.
But anyway,
so people that actually have a normal job.
Stone Roots and Reagan Dillon are our cool names for week 15.
You know who will be impressed by the soap opera talk is Todd Irwin, a big
Bold and Beautiful fan.
But here, Andy's trying to get his pot in. Go ahead, get your pot in.
I just want to point out that he laughed at this when I said this out the hall. Stone Root, with a name like Stone, I hear you so like hard to tackle. He's like a rock. That's a good one. He laughed.
I thought it was something else. Maybe it was the other way I laughed.
That was good. Mike's giving me a weird look.
No, I was just asking, do you think you smell what he's cooking?
Oh, that's even better.
And that's going to do it. So you can, don't forget,
I can do this all day.
Even if you don't like this ending part here, you can still like, share. What else am I forgetting, Dale?
Subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe. Maybe we're back next week. We don't know. There's a chance if all these teams would lose, that this would be our final show of the year, but you'll have to tune in, see, and check it out. But you read your paper this weekend, you'll know whether or not we're coming back, because all we need is one of those teams to win, and we will be back. But for Andy Stein, for Mike Boyden, for Dan Eisberg behind the camera, I'm Scott Franco. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.